Hello, welcome to John's Author Diary for the weekend in April the 26th, 2020. I've really struggled this week with my mental health. I don't know whether it's the lockdown getting to me or whether I'm just feeling tired. I don't know. But my productivity is well down. I managed to do about just over 5,000 words this week towards The Star, which is book 17 of the Ravenglass Chronicles. So I'm happy with the story, how it's going. The writing does feel like a slog. Ended up taking a day off on Thursday and just giving myself the opportunity to get some headspace. Had a long walk. So I walked along the prom in Morecambe. Spent a few hours outside just taking in the sunshine and having a bit of quiet time to myself. Nothing against my family or anything like that, but the fact that I've got no free time, no time to myself, no time to think, and that there's just, constant noise with having a 7-year-old around. I think that's just a little bit difficult this week. I just need my quiet sometimes. I'm used to working from home, working by myself. I write full time, so I do have the opportunity to have those moments where I can just sit and think or go for walks just to clear my head. So I'm giving myself permission basically to have maybe a few days off and take some long walks just so I can be better for my family. I don't think it helps that hay fever season's in full effect, so that always makes me feel groggy as well. So I think as long as I am producing and I am writing and I've got something to show for it at the end of the week, the way things are at the moment, I think that's absolutely fine. I've been listening to quite a few books this week. I listened to one called Forbidden Archaeology, which I was very disappointed with because I know that the actual physical book is about 400 pages, and I bought it on Audible, and it was about 2 hours, something like that. So this was clearly abridged. The quality was terrible. So I don't think I've done it before. I had to work out how to get a refund on Audible. So I did that. And I bought the Ancient Aliens companion book instead because I just thought, well, I've got a bonus token, so I'll just use that. So I've been listening to that. I'm about halfway through that. I do love the ridiculousness of Ancient Aliens, some of the claims that just make no logical sense. So there's a statement in there that a softer material can't damage a harder material. That's physics. That's what it said. What about water erosion? What about those statues in Rome where the feet are worn away from people kissing them so many times? It's full of errors. It's full of spurious claims, but it's entertaining. That's what I like about Ancient Aliens. It doesn't quite have the same effect when you don't have the awesome megalithic structures and ancient texts that it's looking at, but it's still fun. I read 2 books by Scott Adams this week. So this is the guy who wrote the Dilbert comics, and he's been writing some books about persuasion and critical thinking. So he's done a book called Loserthink, which I recommend to everyone really. I think that's an excellent book. So this is just about bad thinking. He's an advocate for something which I like to do, which is to look at the world through as many different filters as you can. So most people go through their life operating under maybe one filter, which is what leads to tribalism, basically, because people see the world in one way, others don't, and then they react to that. And I think we've seen that in politics especially, where if you see the world as only a battleground between victims and oppressors, then that is the way you're going to see the world. That is how everything is going to fall. So it's about taking a step back, looking at the different angles. He uses a great analogy of different people looking at the same screen and watching different movies. So I really recommend that book. I also read his other book called Win Bigly, which is about Donald Trump. It's not a book about his politics or anything like that. It's about Donald Trump as a master persuader. So it's just about the techniques and things that he uses to bring people to his way of thinking. And there's some really interesting stuff in there where once you start seeing it, going back to the loser thinks thing, once you start seeing Donald Trump through the lens of persuasion, it's very interesting. It's a very different perspective than the one you might read in the mainstream media, for example. I also watched a masterclass this week about economics by Paul Krugman. So I think I've mentioned before about this idea of being on a path of mastery with my writing. And so a lot of the books I read, a lot of the different kind of non-fiction things that I consume are all to do with making me a better writer, making me able to tell better stories. And to do this, I need a better understanding of things like psychology, sociology, culture, religion. So I figured that one of my weaker areas is economics. In 2005, I worked for a year at a stockbrokers. And so I learned a lot about finance, learned a lot about economics. And that's one of the jobs that I've had in the past that has given me a business and financial literacy that I otherwise wouldn't have had. So I'm quite grateful for doing that. So I want to get a broader understanding of economics. And again, this is just so I can write better fiction. So next week, I want to carry on with The Star, try and get a first draft done of that. I'm not going to put such pressure on myself to get it finished. You know, I've got The Tower still to proofread, so I feel like I'm ahead anyway with the Ravenglass stuff, so I don't feel too much pressure on that. And last couple of days I have had eye strain as well, so I don't know whether I'm just feeling a bit burnt out because it's difficult to know what day it is at the moment. I usually have quite a good routine, a good schedule. I looked on my Streaks app, which is what I do to track whether I've met my word count, whether I've been doing exercise, whether I've meditated, and I think I had 26 days in a row where I hadn't had a day off. So I'd just been writing. So perhaps part of the mental health thing is just remembering to take a break, remembering to take a day off. And as I say, giving myself permission to rest. So I will be very mindful of that over the next couple of weeks. So until next time, cheerio.